thing I've always wondered about the Quiet Place monsters is, why don't they attack birds? I mean, it's not like birds were the central focus of the movies, but it is interesting since these creatures react to every sound that's around them and everything that's screaming and making a whole bunch of noise. You'd think that birds would be on the top of that list, with them being so outlandishly annoying sometimes and over the top, especially when you're trying to sleep. See, even my domestic dogs are looking at me like I'm crazy because of how annoying those sounds are. So don't tell me these creatures wouldn't at least try to attack birds. And if they would, or if they do, or did, wouldn't they just be attacking birds left and right no matter what, because they're just gonna be birds calling from a whole bunch of distances all the time? Birds sing, that's what they do, that's their MO. First, let's get into what the Death Angels are. The Death Angels are the monsters from A Quiet Place. They are thin, slightly humanoid, aggressive, and predatory monsters with chitinous armor covering their entire body. They have prehensile digits on their forearms, yet they exclusively use their limbs for movement. They hunt by sound and are completely blind. And they have sensitive plates that can extend and contract on front of their faces to help them determine where the sound is coming from. On the sides near the back of their heads, there is a specific plate that can unfold into a giant eardrum-like organ that boosts their hearing and allow them to notice even small changes in sound. But of course, as we can see, this exposes the underneath of their armor, making them vulnerable. In A Quiet Place 1 and 2, they're very easily taken out when their head is wide open, and they can be by a variety of weapons. It is believed that their mouth is a point of entry for damage as well. The Death Angels can weigh up to 400 pounds or more, can run up to 300 miles per hour, are very destructive, and can hold their breath for a very long time in shallow water and navigate within the water quite easily. However, because of their heavy armor, they sink very quickly in very deep water, and don't seem to recognize or consider the fact that the water might be deep. This might indicate that the planet they came from did not have deep water, or at least not the region they came from, so they were used to shallow water. When the Death Angel armor is sealed, no weapon can penetrate it, and they don't even have any ass openings to speak of, so no bullets, bombs, or even bioweapons could take these creatures out. They're immune to fire. Also notice that their head can be opened around fire as well, which is freaking creepy. And you're not killing these things unless they open up their heads or fall in deep water. They attack any living thing that is too loud and seem to only react to just that. So essentially the Death Angels are the epitome of Isaiah 54 verse 7, because no weapon formed against them shall prosper. Death Angels seem to have evolved well for life in the dark, where they would have to climb or navigate in any position or direction. And they are very fast and very violent. So with these creatures being what they are and reacting to every sound, what about birds?
Listen to this. That's the sound of the loudest bird song on record.
As Amaze Lab puts it, this bird is a white bellbird, and it's louder than a rock concert or a chainsaw running. And it may be the loudest bird, but there are definitely others that are super loud and obnoxious. There are around 10,000 species of known birds, and as of 2021, there are between 50 billion and 430 billion birds on the planet, and most of them like to make a lot of damn noise.
Shut the fuck up!
Birds chirp for all sorts of reasons. For mating, communication, because they're hungry, or sometimes just because. When they know a predator that can catch them is nearby, such as another species of bird that eats other birds, a snake that eats birds, cats. Yes, cats are experts at catching birds out of mid-air and mid-flight, as you saw in that clip, or if they are flightless birds or birds that can't fly very well or very far. Most of the time when birds are quiet, they're listening to the warning call of another bird. That dude, the other bird most likely likely told the rest of the birds what kind of predators in the area and where. The only time birds are usually making a lot of noise in the presence of danger is when they're trying to protect their nests and they try to go somewhere else to draw the predator away from the nest. By acting wild, flapping their wings, and cawing very loudly, saying, "Hey, over here, look at me, come this way." And they do this to make sure that the predator does not have its eyes on their babies or their nests, because their chicks are helpless. Most likely, when the Quiet Place monsters touched down on Earth, birds already knew what was coming. They would stay quiet as the Quiet Place monsters were moving. So here's a question. How would the Death Angels deal with birds constantly making noise? Would they go after every chirp and every bird call in the distance? Would it drive them mad not knowing where it's coming from? Knowing that every time they got close, it would just go somewhere else very quickly? The Quiet Place monsters react to sound, but not just any sound. They don't attack fire or water or wind or any of the natural elements. It's amazing that not being from this planet, they know not to attack these things because they probably evolved to get used to these things and already know that they are part of the environment. There's also probably a little bit of intelligence that comes into play as well, knowing what is alive and what is not. At first, the Quiet Place monsters, aka Death Angels, probably did not react to birds because, well, there was more threatening presence there. Humans, other animals, vehicles, machinery, and weapons. When the Earth became a quiet place, there were ambient noises, and maybe human survivors in the distance. Birds are a part of the ambient noises. The Quiet Place monsters would focus on certain sounds of living creatures. If it's loud and threatening enough, a Death Angel will go after it. But here's why they probably would not go after birds, at least not after a while. The Quiet Place monsters most likely lived in a cave system or rocky areas on their planet. They used echolocation for navigating. The Death Angels are blind and depend chiefly on their hearing, but there's something else that blind creatures usually depend on other than their hearing, and it's their sense of touch or vibrations. Being in a cave system, the Quiet Place monster would have to learn how their prey move or where their prey is via the vibrations, and not just listen, but to feel on a predator that might prey on them or a prey was around the corner. Death Angels might have lived in very large caves or open areas with a lot of rocks. Caves, in our sense, like many of the ones that we have on planet Earth, don't really reverberate sound all that well. Of course, there are some that do, but I've heard from cave divers or people who explore caves that you can actually get lost very easily in a cave, because even if you're traveling with a buddy, you can turn a corner in a cave and you will be right there at the tip of that corner and not be able to hear your friend who is still in the other room only several feet from you. Death Angels would probably most likely not only depend on their hearing, but vibrations as well, feeling through the walls and the rocks what was coming or how big it was. After a while of the Death Angels hearing the birds, they would think the birds are part of the environment. They probably would go to investigate and realize that they don't have easy access to this specific thing, making this specific noise everywhere all over the place and never stopping. Or, this thing doesn't make a big enough vibration to be a threat or something worth noting in the environment. And for things that make a lot of vibration, like flowing water or rain, it's a constant sound that doesn't change despite how far or close away the Quiet Place monster is. They can probably also smell it and hear how it sounds and know what it is. The Quiet Place monsters probably have enough intelligence to tell the difference between water and something that they can eat just like animals on our planet can. The other sense that the Quiet Place monsters use is what I've mentioned, smell. A very real creature that we have on our planet that is virtually blind, the mole rat, has a very good sense of smell. And even though they get most of their water from a plant-based diet, when they do come into contact with fresh water, they know exactly what it is even though they can't see very well. They can also hear and feel. With the Quiet Place monsters being blind, it's fair to assume that all their other senses, like smell, hearing, and touch, are heightened. So birds most likely would be safe because they have the ability to fly and because many of the species are small. At most, the Death Angels would take out species of birds that could not fly very well, or that were flightless like chickens and penguins. Basically creatures whose presence is heavier than that of an airborne bird that can easily get away. Most likely though, after a while, the Quiet Place monsters would quickly realize that trying to go after every single bird would be futile. The birds would take off before they even got close, and the Quiet Place monsters would eventually think that they're just part of the normal environment, albeit a very annoying part of the environment. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.